Hello, Miami. This is Real 5 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things sports related, Miami sports related. There we go. I am Will, and joining me today is a very special guest. She is one of the hosts of the Buckets Pod over in the podcasting world on YouTube as well, and she's also a frequent guest on Locked On Canes, and she is also a part of the Sixth Ring Canes podcast as well. And you may know her through her popular Miami Hurricanes hoodies, Melissa at CoolerMLB on Twitter. Melissa, known as Hoodie Girl. What's up? How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Will. I'm excited. Another pod to guest on. I love getting onto all of the different Canes pods and helping promote, all the Canes fans out there. You guys do hard work. And now that I've been working on my own pod, I see how much work it really takes to get one of these things going. So always love chatting it up.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being on. I know you're extremely busy and you're very active, especially with your line of work, and you're also very active in Canes fandom, through various appearances, on local podcasts, especially on Locked On Canes, where you and CB, known as Chalupa Batman, have been dubbed the Avengers of Locked On Canes. But the one thing I do want to ask you, I know you've told this story 1,000 times, but in case you have some first time listeners here, Hoodie Girl, where does that come from? Where did Hoodie Girl come from?
So, I'll keep it short because, I could tell this story so many ways. So pretty much the nickname Hoodie Girl came from Coach Coop. If any of y'all catch his pod, he does great stuff with talking Canes football. I randomly saw his pod came up on the YouTube algorithm one day because I was searching for a Canes press conference or something. I don't even remember what it was. And one of his thumbnails came up. And it was this dude with his 5 and counting hat. So I was like, oh, let me see what this is about. And so I started watching his pod on YouTube, and he had this really cool, bright blue Adidas hoodie on. And I really enjoyed his podcast. And so I watched a few more of them. And then I tweeted at him on Twitter. I was like, hey, love your show. Also, this hoodie is awesome. And so I didn't expect him to answer me. We ended up tweeting back and forth for a bit. So I went and watched one of his. So before every home game, he does a call-in show the night before or before any game in general. Any Miami game, he does a call-in show the night before where he talks about the team. He has people call in, predict scores, blah, blah, blah. And so I wrote in the live chat, why aren't you wearing a hoodie? Where's your hoodie game? And then he slowly because my YouTube handle isn't the same as my handle on Twitter. So he didn't realize it was me until I said that. And he's like, wait, is this hoodie Melissa? And so I kept going on his show, on his live chats, talking, whatever. And then the Hoodie Girl thing got started. And that's I've kind of just run with it. And that's how people know me as. Some people don't know me by my name, Melissa. They just know me as Hoodie Girl. So, and I figured I'd wear a new hoodie tonight on this show. A nice new Adidas Canes football hoodie.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And yeah, the Hoodie Girl thing, you've ran with it. You've been very successful with it as well, through your various endeavors, in the podcasting world and your various appearances on different shows as well. One thing I had you on because you have a lot of vast knowledge, because you're also you're not only a Canes fan, but you're also a Cane alum as well. Before we get into Georgia Tech, we were discussing before the show started a little incident that you had at a UM basketball game, and I'd like you to share with the audience. How does Melissa, aka Hoodie Girl, get thrown out of a Canes game, a home game?
So I graduated from UM undergrad in 2008. I was a basketball fan growing up. I love football, but basketball was always my thing. I played basketball through high school. And so when I went to Miami, I knew I was going to go to a lot of Canes basketball games because I love playing basketball. So I met a bunch of friends there. I probably went to at least 90% of the home games that we had as a student my 4 years. And so my senior year, we were playing UNC, and that was the days when Tyler Hansborough was on their team. And so me and two of my friends, Paul and Dan, what's up, guys? I always make sure I shout them out when I tell the story. The refs were just making horrible calls, and anyone who follows Canes basketball or ACC basketball in general knows that North Carolina teams always get that ref bias. So the three of us started waving dollar bills in the air as a joke, trying to pay them off. And this was during the Tim Donaghy scandal. So probably wasn't the best of jokes. And then one of the refs went over to the squirrels table and kind of pointed in our general vicinity. And a few minutes later, security came up to us, and one of the heads of security, she was like, hey, who was waving money? There was a bunch of us doing it, but me and my two friends took the blame for it. and we were escorted out. The next game, I made a sign about it, like getting kicked out, and I was told not to hold it up anymore, and I kept doing it because I wanted to get it on the screen, and then they took it out. They took that away too. But the lady that runs security when I was leaving at the end of the game gave it back to me. She's like, "You can keep this if you don't bring it back." So it's in my box of crap, as I like to call it. If any of you have watched the Buckets pod, we went through my memorabilia box like last month. And so I showed that sign on air. So if you guys want to see what it said, go check it out.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty interesting. That the fact that they kicked you out. I mean, it was a sensitive time for referees, but I mean, some referees have to have a sense of humor. You know, when you go on the road, you're gonna get that kind of crap. I know I've said a few things to, especially the A&M game. I said a few things to the referees. You know, regarding oil money and.
I mean, we weren't even being like profane. We were just like
Yeah,
waving money, and my friend Dan yelled like, "Oh, we're gonna start up a collection for you to like ref better or something." But apparently because they knew us, we were seniors, so like the
yeah,
security guards, they know us because at that time Canes basketball wasn't very popular, so you knew the students that were there every game. I mean,
yeah.
we only filled up for important games, so we were at every game regardless. So they apologized, and like the head of security was like, "Oh, the refs threatened to stop the game if you weren't removed." So the coach came up, Coach Haight at the time came up to us in the student line the next game and thanked us for our support and told us to give the refs a break, leave it to him, so because he needs us at the game. So um, it was cool. It's something we still talk about. I have the student newspaper article that talks about it. It's something that three of us bonded over, and we still talk about till this day. I posted about it on Facebook that night, and so every year it comes up in my memories. So it's always like an anniversary thing, like happy anniversary, guys. Like, look, it's the whatever anniversary of us getting thrown out of a game. So, and it's a good story.
Yeah, and on. It's funny too. I mean, you can laugh about it now. I'm sure you're freaking out when that
We
first
were laughing
happened.
about it then. We thought it was
Oh, you were laughing about it
hilarious.
too? That they were kicking you out?
As soon as I confirmed that it was just for this game and it wasn't for like the rest of time, because
Oh,
that's the
okay.
first thing I asked, and they're like, "No, it's just for this game." We thought it was funny. I mean, we were talking to security outside for like a few minutes after like they threw us out. So I mean, they knew us, so we thought it was hilarious. Once we confirmed it wasn't for good, because that would have been
Okay.
horrible. I was a season ticket holder after I graduated for like 11 years.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I didn't ban you. I mean, that's a that's a good thing. You got
Would have been a
you,
disaster.
yeah, you get to enjoy. I know you still get to enjoy UN games. That is a great atmosphere though when it's packed. I mean, I've been to games when it's absolutely loaded. Um,
Yep.
Canes, Canes are our football team. All right, 4-0. All right, they've exceeded expectations. We had some small expectations to start the season. You'll take it game by game, especially since last year it was a 5-7 start. It was a 5-7, season. Canes are 4-0. They had a magnificent victory against Texas A&M. The score wasn't even that close. It was 48-33. It should have been more, with the exception of two special teams errors, which gave Texas A&M really good field position as well. Now we're facing Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech is a team that last year on the road, Miami completely dominated. It's not the same team, all right? They're led now by Haynes King, who was actually the A&M quarterback last season, the one that actually defeated the Miami Hurricanes. And he's actually having a good season. The defense sucks, all right? Tech's defense is absolutely terrible, but their offense isn't bad. They're averaging 32 points a game, and King has 1,480 yards passing, a 65% completion percentage rating. He's 15 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. What is your perspective on the upcoming game? They're 2-3. What's your perspective on this upcoming game? And do you think Miami needs to be a little bit careful that they don't fall asleep at the wheel against a team that's pretty explosive on offense?
I don't think Mario's gonna let them fall asleep at the wheel. I
Okay.
mean, that's just not. You can even tell by the way the athletes answer questions regarding like an upcoming game, even like against Bethune Cookman and Temple and all of those things. They take every game seriously. I find it interesting that Georgia Tech demoted their defensive coordinator and like promoted their. I forget what position coach he was to defensive coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see if they run the same schemes. It sounds like our offense is going to have to be prepared to be prepared to expect the unexpected, because I don't know what their new defensive coordinator is going to change. But in all honesty, they are better than last season, but we beat them last season with our backup quarterback and Josh Gaddis running the offense. So we really shouldn't have an issue with this game. But yeah, I don't want us to be kind of looking past it, because we have a big game the following week against UNC.
Mhm.
But we should take care of this. It shouldn't be close. I think the spread's like 19.
Okay. I mean, they do have a couple talented receivers though, because they are going to throw it all over the field. Like the running game is not
Yeah.
it's not the triple option like it was a few years ago. Thank God,
Yeah.
But they do have some talent at receivers. All right, Eric Singleton, with 18 catches and 335 yards, 5 touchdowns. So our defensive backs were tested, and if there is, it's not a weakness. I don't think, I think that the Temple game, those like you mentioned on Locked On Canes, a couple guys did slip, which allowed for big gains, for Temple. But one of the criticisms that they have on our defense is the defensive backfield.
The
With
secondary,
Cam
yeah.
Kitchens coming back this upcoming game, from his concussion against Texas A&M, how different do you think our defense is going to look, in this game comparable to the Temple game before the bye?
I mean, I don't think there's any type of price or level you can put on Cam Kinchens for what he does for our defense. Having him back is massive. We're very lucky that we didn't have any crazy opponents after that A&M game, and he had this bye week and everything to heal up. And luckily, he wasn't seriously injured. Because we're gonna need him. We're getting into ACC play now, and we're gonna be playing some really good quarterbacks. After this game, which obviously we're not overlooking, we got Drake May, we've got Cade Klubnik, you got Jordan Travis in November. So we need our secondary healthy. I didn't even look at the forecast to see if it's gonna rain, but all 4 of our games so far we've played in the rain. So I would like to see what we can do on a dry field, but I mean, I don't think Georgia Tech's going to get that many opportunities to score because if their run defense is as bad as what the rankings are, we're going to pound the ball the whole game and we're going to chew up clock.
Okay.
Like
Well,
their run defense is terrible.
oh, it's terrible. I think their entire defense is terrible, like horrifically. But yeah, if it's a porous run defense, the Canes will completely take advantage of it. One thing I'm curious about, especially in the offensive side of the ball, how much Shannon Dawson schemes up against Georgia Tech when he's got a couple ACC opponents to worry about in the next few weeks with North Carolina and Clemson not too far away. So do you think that Dawson would be somewhat creative like he was against A&M, or do you think it'll just be business as usual like it's been the last few games against schools like Temple and Bethune and even Miami, Ohio?
I mean, I don't think we show anything that we don't need to show. Obviously, you don't want to protect your playbook and then lose.
Hmm.
But I don't see us straying too far out from what we've already done. I don't think we're gonna need to. But yeah, I think our test of our offense and defense is going to be at Chapel Hill in 2 weeks.
TVD is having a fantastic season. He's back to 2021. TVD might even be better. All right, he's got
Oh, he's
74%.
better.
Yeah, they'll definitely better. 74% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns, and 1 fluke interception because his finger was bad as well.
Is that what we're
Um,
blaming it on, or are we blaming it on the fact that he didn't see the safety?
well, he didn't see the safety, but I do think in that game he would have zipped the ball a little bit more if he didn't have a finger injury.
Possibly.
There
Okay,
was a
okay, we'll go with that.
there was a bit more air on the football than that he
Yeah,
threw
yeah.
under the ball that game that he's been throwing lately. Usually he zips the ball a little bit more. Former pitcher,
Yeah,
over in Connecticut,
all
so
right.
he
We
still
can
has
run
that
with
wind
that.
up.
That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll forgive him for that one.
Yeah, well, it's just one pick, but he's having a great season. The wide receivers have really shown a great improvement. Jacoby George, who last year couldn't get any separation, is leading the team in touchdown receptions. Um, what really? We know what changed, but from your perspective, like, what differences are you seeing? As far as Tyler Van Dyke and the wide receivers that were missing from last season, because it's the same guys, but it feels like a totally different group.
There's 2 things that have changed this offense. One is what Cristobal and Mirabal have done with the offensive line and bringing in transfers and the development of some of the guys that we already have and bringing in Maui Noah. 2 is Kevin Beard. I said it before the season, minus the coordinators, because obviously that's like a higher job. Kevin Beard is going to be our best offseason hire as far as the position coach is concerned. This is a guy who played for Miami, who
Mhm.
won a championship with Miami. And when you watch him coaching, you can't not love him. Like even just listening to like his interviews and stuff, this dude bleeds orange and green, and he's
Yeah.
so good. You can tell a difference in our receivers. Like, obviously, it's a new system, and now like Kobe Young kind of like started to develop a little bit last season. X was hurt, Jacoby George was hurt and was suspended for a bit. Like, if we had like the Texas A&M game, if we had that last year, we don't bounce back. Jacoby George muffs that punt, and
Agree.
he's hanging his head the whole time. It's just a whole different culture shift. But you can't not overlook what our offensive line is doing. Like, I sit and I watch games, and I'm just like, he has all freaking day. And I think somebody asked, if you did you watch the press conferences today? Somebody asked
Yeah.
Coach Dawson about TVD and his accuracy, and Coach Dawson is like, it's the guys up front. When you have that much time to throw the ball, it's giving TVD a chance to show how good he actually is. Um, you haven't really seen him miss any throws. There was one throw against Temple where he even said it in his press conference that Colby bailed him out. That crazy catch that Colby made at the goal line
Yeah.
for the touchdown.
Mhm.
It wasn't a very accurate throw, but Colby came back and got it and scored. But he's been so accurate. Some of those throws to Jacoby, that little basket catch he made on the sideline for Temple, I mean, he's just dropping dimes, and he has the time to do it. He's not having to rush throws, so he's having a chance to do his drop back, to plant his foot, to look at all of his progressions and not rush it, because he has all freaking day. It's beautiful. I love it. Literally, I was shed a tear watching our offensive line. It's amazing.
Yeah, one thing about TVD as well is that he's also more mobile than people give him credit for. He's slimmed down,
Yeah, but
and
I
he's
don't want him running that much.
well. I don't either. I don't either. But we know he has some escapability, which is good. And I do think that him now possibly keeping the ball on a read option, a zone read, helps out the running game as well, because now the defensive end can't just bet that Henry Parrish or Don Chaney or Chris Johnson are going to have the football. They have to also count for the fact that TVD might actually tuck and run
Yeah.
it, especially if it's a short yard situation, which leads to an easy
Yeah,
first
and
down.
Dawson peeped that out just in time for ACC play. Like, oh, by
Yeah,
the way, you have to stay honest. That like 40-yard run he had against Temple, I was
yeah,
like, oh my god, slide, don't get hit, slide.
yes,
It
no,
was a great. Even
absolutely.
he faked out the cameraman.
Yeah, oh, totally. But he said it himself. He said he wanted it to develop more of a mobile game, and it's good for him also because he wants to get to the higher level. Lately now, it's
Mhm.
good, to be a quarterback that can defend yourself on the run as well. Obviously, the pocket passes will always win the day, if they could throw in
Yeah,
the pocket. But
he's looked
having that
amazing this
slightly,
season.
what's that? I'm sorry.
He's looked amazing this season.
Yeah, he's been great. He's been looking great, especially since he changed his diet. He's slimmed down. He wants to be quicker. He wants to be a little bit more multifaceted, and it's worked out for him. So, but I agree with you. He slide as much as you possibly can. All right, do not take hits. All right, as well, because we definitely need him. Throughout ACC play. Um, in a rotation of running backs that we have, because it's basically running back by committee but with reason, because everybody on that team is really
Yeah.
talented and they bring a different aspect to the game. Which back has stood out to you this season so far?
I may be a little bit biased, but I love Don Chaney.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I
That's
root
my
for this
guy.
kid. He's been through so much. 2 injuries. Like, he came out his freshman year and he was bawling. And then he gets injured, and then he gets injured again. And so I forget, I said this on someone's pod. I was like, if Cheney's healthy, he's RB1. And this isn't like undermining anything that Henry Parrish has done, because Henry Parrish was our workhorse last year. He's done great this year. AJ Allen looks great. Fletcher is going to be a beast who we have for like another 2 years, which is absolutely amazing. But when Don Chaney is healthy with that O line, he started against Temple. He's he's such a beast. And his press interview after, like, you can't not root for that kid. Like,
Yeah.
I love him. But I mean, honestly, all of them have different skills. I mean, I think Fletcher is going to end up becoming like one of the best running backs we see that have come through Miami. I just think he has everything, and as he develops, he's going to be really good. But I just there's a special place in my heart for Don. I love Don Chaney.
Don's a complete back. That's the thing. Don is
Yeah.
is quicker than people think he is. He's a very violent runner. He will run you over
Mhm.
if need be. He can also catch the ball out in the backfield, and he can also block. So he's a complete back. I think he's at
His
the
vision.
moment. Yeah, and his vision as well. Henry Parrish is underrated as a blocker, but if you really want to say who's the most complete back that Miami has right now, that's in heavy rotation, it's probably going to be Don Chaney, because he could do it all. He could run for power. He has some
Yeah.
speed as well. He can block. He can catch up. He can catch passes. The flats. So
I I
he's all
think
around back.
Fletcher will be that guy. I
Oh,
think Fletcher
definitely.
will end up being that guy. He's a true freshman, and
Yeah.
he's doing great things. But Cheney's a beast. I mean, I don't how much eligibility he has another year, doesn't he?
Don, I
I
think
think he
so.
has another year. Yeah.
Yeah, Don, yeah.
Give him one healthy season, have him come back. Whew.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see with how many running backs we have, and then we have 2 guys coming in next year. You still got
Yeah.
Chris Johnson. How many of running backs are still on this team next year? Because I mean, that's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah. Yeah. Not, I mean, I will say this though. I will say this though. With an offensive line like this, if you get in, all those guys, they're gonna be making money in the NFL. Because they're gonna get their
That's
numbers.
like yeah, that's like DeMarco Murray on the Cowboys, and then he went to Philly and didn't do anything. You
Yeah.
should have stayed behind the Great Wall of Dallas, but you
Yeah.
got greedy.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that should be the case, as well for some of these. But yeah, I do agree, transfer portal may be happening, but at the moment, I think these guys understand, and the thing with Cristobal and also Tim Harris and stuff like that, Junior, they're very honest when they recruit you. They tell you straight up, you may not start, but you will get opportunity to compete, and you will get in the rotation. But you may not start, so think about that. So these guys know what they're getting into when they come to Miami now, especially the Mario Cristobal. He doesn't BS these kids. So I think that's a
Yeah.
good
And
quality to
now
have.
he has something to show them, though. I
Yeah,
mean, a lot that 2023 class came in based off of Cristobal's word, like,
yeah,
"Hey, I know we went 5-7, or we're doing bad this year. We're in a rebuild, blah blah blah." And a lot of the recruits said, "Oh, Mario's been completely honest, blah blah
yeah,
blah." You hear it a lot from a lot of the recruits about honesty, but now he has something to show. If we can keep this up, that 2025 class is going to be insane.
yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Okay, so we just finished a bye week. We're getting heading into ACC play. I'm sure you've had this conversation. In fact, I know you've had this conversation within your podcast and also with other potters as well. Um, who to you is going to be who do you expect to be the standout post by, and who do you think we haven't heard of yet that we will hear about, as the season progresses?
So I think we're gonna. I mean, I find it interesting. We have a lot of talent at wide receiver, and we kind of just had like the 3 main guys
Hmm.
doing most of the work. The first 4 weeks, we've had Jacoby, Colby, and X. Um, I think we're gonna see a lot more of Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith. I think he's earned it. What he's doing on special teams. You see, they're starting to run some packages with him, getting him into space.
Hmm.
I would love to see more of Tyler Harrell and Ray Joseph as well. The 3 of them have so much speed. You get them on the field and just give them like an inch, they're going to take a mile. But I think Brashard Smith, you're going to start to hear his name a lot more, and not just on special teams. What he's been able to do. I mean, we've had some great starting fields position because of what he's done on special teams. Not to mention that A&M got that field goal coming out of the half and made it a 1-point game, and Brashard Smith quickly sucked any momentum they had
Yeah,
coming out of halftime with that kick return. Not to mention that block by Restrepo. Whew.
yeah,
Um, that was a great block. But no, I think we hear a lot more of Brashard Smith. And then on defense, um, I think we hear more of Jaden Davis. He's already kind of had um, a little bit of a breakout with some of his tackling and stuff, but him and then Jaden Harris as well has filled in great for Cam while he's been out. So the 2 of them, I think, will be big playmakers for our secondary, and we're going to hear a lot more of them.
yeah. For me, it's gonna be Ray Joseph. I think they're gonna use him more in the offense. He's very quick and shifting. He's very fast. We saw a little bit of him in the Temple game. I think we'll see Tyler Harrell, as well. I think that you can't keep that Ferrari, in the garage for way too long, especially with competition like North Carolina, Clemson, and also Florida State coming about. You want that guy that could run past defenders. So I do think we'll see him. On the defensive side of the ball, I think eventually Ruben Bain will get home more often, and all the refs will
He's
just
not getting
actually call.
held.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say that. Especially if he's not being if they actually call holding calls. I told Dono on Twitter that he should have 6 sacks at least. I've counted. This season before the bye, he should have at least 6 sacks. To his resume.
Did you see that egregious hold when they were replaying the if it was a fumble or not from EJ Warner
Yes.
during the Temple game? I
Yeah.
mean, they've put it in slow mo. Like Bane is getting like wrapped and turned around, like
Yeah.
everything. I was like, can we like call a penalty, please? Because this is happening every game, and now you have proof of it in slow mo,
Yeah. For me, those the Miami Ohio
dude.
game.
And he's
Both
only a
him.
freshman.
I know, but in the Miami Ohio game, both he and Jaden Wayne got tackled. The refs never
Yeah,
called a hold. They never called it, and I'm like, man, it sucks to be a freshman. Yeah.
our trenches are in good hands, man.
Yeah.
Nigel Kelly's a sophomore. Bane and Wayne, Horton, who we haven't even seen a lot of yet.
Yeah.
And then some of the guys we've got coming in on the D line.
Yeah.
I
Dean's been
like
out. Dean got hurt.
our D line's getting built. Like what our
Yeah.
offensive line looks like this year, our D line's gonna start looking like that
Oh,
next year as
absolutely.
these guys develop. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then
And we got
Branson Dean,
Blunt.
you got hurt. Mesidor got hurt, which is why you're seeing so much of
Yeah.
Bane and sometimes in the interior.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think our D line.
Listen, Harrison Hunt has
Yes, another one
surprised
too.
me.
Yes, yes, he's playing very well.
He did well like his freshman sophomore year, and you didn't hear his name a lot last year. And then
No.
he's gotten some reps because we've had injuries, and he's done great. And Jafari Harvey too.
Yeah, me too.
They've we have a bit more depth on our D line than I thought we would have, because some of these guys who I kind of wrote off have actually been doing really well. Yes, it has been against some lesser competition, but they're doing what they're supposed to do.
But
and I said this to somebody else. I was like, I know obviously the A&M game was good competition, but some of the other teams that weren't great competition, let's not forget we lost to Middle Tennessee State.
yes.
So it's nice to see us come out and do what we were supposed to do, win by 30 or 40 points, and play like we're supposed to against these teams. Georgia Tech lost to Bowling Green last week.
Yeah.
So these upsets do happen. App State took North Carolina to the wire. I mean, App State's always an upset alert waiting to happen. I don't know what they feed these kids in Boone, but we're playing like we're supposed to. So
yeah,
it's nice to see.
Going back to the D line, I think that Jason Taylor's played a very key role because he's really been where he works very, very, very intensely and one-on-one with the defensive ends especially. So I think that's why you see such an improvement also on the edges. Even a guy like Jafar Harvey, he was never a bad athlete, but you've seen him step it up a notch, and I think it has to do a lot with detail coaching of JT, as well.
Yeah,
linebacker
Taylor,
plays him very good as well.
And it's his first year coaching the college level. So imagine as he continues to get his feet wet and brings in some of this top tier talent that he's getting in. I hope he shows up to recruits' houses with his jacket on, his Hall of Fame jacket. Like that should be borrow a pair of Mario's loafers, get the Hall of Fame jacket, and that's how you should recruit.
Well, that's what Pat Riley did when he recruited LeBron James to come to Miami. First thing I think he sat down, he put those rings down on the table. Basically said, "You want one of these? Come to Miami."
I think Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh coming to Miami helped that as well.
Yeah,
man, those were some good years.
But remember, LeBron said yes first, then came Bosh. Remember that it was they had.
No,
I think,
Bosh came before LeBron.
Are you sure?
I'm positive because I remember. Was it on? I don't even know. I think it was just on Facebook. I remember I was like, "Oh my gosh, Wade and Bosh, and now James."
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Bosh came first. I love Chris Bosh. He never got enough love.
No, he didn't, because they never called plays for him because you had both Wade and LeBron that ran the team.
Yeah.
I mean, guard play is it's a new NBA. Guard play is what dominates.
Yeah.
Centers are they're just there now.
Back when we could land the big names.
Yeah. I know.
We're both Heat fans, so we're still a little bit bitter right now.
Oh my God, I had a lot of nice things to say about Joe Cronin. But talking about that really quickly,
the Marlins clutching the postseason helped me out a little bit there. So
yes, and to my audience, thank you, Mel. And for my audience out there, congratulations to the Marlins. All right, for making the playoffs, and tomorrow they have Game 1 against the Philadelphia Phillies, 8 p.m. on ESPN. I don't like the Phillies either.
Quick tangent. I hate that the entire NL East is in the same bracket. Like the winner of this series plays Atlanta.
Yeah,
I hate that happened that way.
Yeah, but the NL East is good though. I mean, you have to give her credit. I mean, it's a very congested division. Because you have the Phillies, the Braves, and now the Marlins. Are an ascending team. So congratulations to Los Marlins.
I need them to win this first series so that my playoff shirt can get here in time for it to still be relevant.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, for those of you out there that think I don't cover enough Marlins, game by game, at least if there's a victory, I will be doing my shorts. Okay, like I used to do for the Heat last year. My 305 sports shorts. I'll be doing those for the Marlins. All right, as well. So stay tuned for that. Okay, I've not abandoned the Marlins. Okay, there's just a lot going on.
I'm here to remind you, Will. I'm here to remind you.
Thanks,
I
man.
got
I
you.
really appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you so much for doing that. All right, Hoodie Girl, let everybody know where they can find you. All right.
So my Twitter is at the cooler Mel B, as like the Spice Girl, but I'm way cooler. And then you can catch me on the Buckets Pod. We're a part of the Six Ring Canes Network. We go on usually Wednesdays or Thursday nights. We'll be on this Wednesday. And we're pre-recording with a guest as well. I'm not sure when we're posting that. But keep an eye out. We've got some really good guests coming up. I just confirmed a guest for 2 weeks from now who's one of like the all-time greats that have played basketball at the U. So you don't want to miss it. So it's a part of the 5 Reason Sports Network, but we're under the umbrella of Six Ring Canes. There's a lot of names to be involved. So just look up Six Ring Canes, and if it says Buckets in the title, that's us.
All right, awesome. All right, Mel, thank you so much for joining us today. Greatly appreciate it. Everybody, just to let you know, I will be on Chalupa and Friends. All right, for the halftime show with CB. All right, on his YouTube channel. So once again, I will be on Chalupa and Friends. We'll be breaking down the first half of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets game, and a surprise, I will have another flip watch for you this weekend. So who do I think is a possible flip to become a Miami Hurricane? Stay tuned for that. All right, this upcoming weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. Stay safe. God bless you soon. And once again, thank you, Miss Cooler Mel B, a.k.a. Hoodie Girl. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.